morning, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Friday, May the 4th, 10 a.m. agenda meeting. If you want to talk to us about something that's on the agenda, you need to fill out a yellow card and bring up here to us, please. I'd like to get Mr. Beard to say the prayer and Mr. Curtis Fountain to say the pledge. Everybody please stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please join me in praying the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
Lord in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
Amen.
Okay, we're going to go to item number 3, administrative report. Mr. Ryan Booyock.
Good morning, gentlemen. Couple brief updates this morning. I know you missed me last month, and so I want to hope that you're okay with me doubling my time this month. So I know Danny will appreciate that. On May 2nd, we were pleased to hear Venture Global announcing the execution of yet another offtake agreement. This would now be a third agreement for their company, a 20-year binding agreement, this time with Galp. It's a Portuguese company, a Portuguese energy company. And so now with my simple math, they are at 40% capacity, obligated, committed, under contract for their facility in Cameron. So that's very, very, very encouraging. The courthouse renovations project, we're now at 60% complete. We have around $2 million left in that budget. A lot of activity going on in that regard. With that, I will defer to other items on the agenda. If you had any other general questions before we got into other specific items.
Cameron Fisheries.
Sam East, the general contractor, has turned in his first invoice to get mobilized at the facility. All the contracts have been executed. Some of the items have begun fabrication. And so I think we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot.
Anybody got any questions? All right, we'll move on to number 4, Cameron Parish Planning and Assistance to State Coastal Erosion Master Plan. Booyah.
Going back to a couple public meetings we had last year around July regarding our shoreline erosion issues, the jury had the foresight to allocate some of its own money to get this study going. And specifically what we were trying to accomplish is identify projects throughout our coastal area that would mitigate shoreline erosion. We have some high erosion rates throughout the parish, and in some instances over 300 linear feet a year, which is quite substantial. The Corps of Engineers began their process in November and have completed a draft. That draft is on our website. It is out for public comment. Specifically, we have looked at 11 projects that have been preliminarily scoped by the Corps. They are cost estimates, again, rough cost estimates, but different construction project types, from rock breakwaters to wave attenuation devices to sand nourishment projects, as we saw on the west side of the ship channel, and so forth and so on. Cumulatively, those estimated construction costs are around $85 million to address issues in a wide range of areas throughout coastal Cameron Parish. We feel from that from day one, and that is still certainly the case, that this has given us a great baseline to get started. This suite of projects honed in on what we were trying to accomplish, and also have other state and federal agencies buy in. As I mentioned, this study was conducted over a 5-month time frame. The parish put up $150,000 of coastal restoration committee money. It was a dollar for dollar credit with the Corps of Engineers, and I'm very proud to say that the information we provided at the onset and the direction provided by the parish and its project manager led to the project being completed on time by the Corps, which was very impressive, and at half the cost. So the parish will be reimbursed $75,000 from this effort. So I'm not sure how many Corps of Engineers programs or projects you've participated in the past, but having something done on time and half the budget is pretty significant. So I'm very proud of that case. What we would like to do is that $75,000, if it's okay with the jury, we would put that funding back into the coastal committee line item of the budget and utilize that in beginning geotechnical work in some of these areas to find out what we could put where. And just again, we have the core study sitting here. We have a geotechnical report showing what could be buried in what areas. Let's get it expedited. Let's get construction going on some of these projects. We have the public comment out until the end of this month, and at the June 1st police jury meeting, we would have a finalized document for us to utilize moving forward in discussing this with state and federal agencies, trying to leverage our funding to get more projects constructed in this arena. With that, I'll entertain any questions on the core master plan. In the study, there's a lot of technical information, but in the study, you'll see a map with the list of projects and the projected costs, as well as time frames, project schedules of what years we could accomplish what projects. One aspect of the study is funding, and so there are ideas from the Corps' perspective. There are even funding sources from the Corps that we could, apply for, go after, and see if we can get some more money in here.
Any questions?
Our relationship with the Corps gets a lot better.
I would hate to say that out loud, but I think we worked very well together on this effort. From the Southwest Coastal Study to this, I think we worked pretty well with them, honestly.
Maybe we need to trade that off for some boat launch.
Permitting analysts are a little bit different from their planning project managers, I can promise you. But Miles is working on that.
All right, no more questions, we'll move on to number 5, Gomez the funding, bond issue for shoreline protection project, Mr. Booyah.
Okay, so, from day one, we've been told by the state and federal agencies, they needed some guidance on what we wanted to put where and how much would it cost. That led to conducting the core study. We needed to find a dedicated revenue stream. So when we were working through previous tax initiatives, we were looking at bonding out some of that money to get projects moving in a more expeditious manner. All we did was take that model and transfer it to a different revenue stream. So instead of tax revenues, we're going to move it on over to GOMESA payments, which began this year. Our first check was $1,090,000. And those funds are dedicated to coastal restoration. So at the jury's direction, we worked with a few investors and have developed a bond issue to get Cameron Parish $11.4 million up front to construct these breakwater shoreline protection projects. I'm pleased to tell you that we have gone through the Community Development Authority with unanimous approval. We have gone through the State Bond Commission with unanimous approval. As of Monday, we recorded an investors presentation whereby the parish made it very clear what our goals were out of this program. What would the funds go towards? Why was it important? And so we feel that these $11.4 million in what is considered green bonds, meaning environmentally sustainable projects, community resiliency enhancing projects, are the only type of funds that are issued through this program. So we are very excited that our projects accomplish that goal. There are individuals out there, we are told, who want to participate in environmentally friendly projects. They want to save the world. And so right now, they're currently out for investors review. And as was referenced at the Bond Commission meeting, this is the first time in Louisiana and in the country that GOMESA funds have been bonded out. I would imagine it would not be the last if things continue on the path that we are right now. When you look at timelines, you never know how quickly those bonds can be purchased. I know that we have been told there's quite a bit of interest with many firms already contacting the investor on this particular issue. So I think that we have, in a very short time frame from August, September of last year till now, made quite a bit of progress. Not just in identifying projects, but identifying funding. And at every turn, we have attempted to expedite protection for this parish. So I'm very proud of where we are. This funding source, again, it is here. There are no risks on behalf of the jury or the state. These bonds are 100% reliant upon revenue payments from GOMESA. And so I think that we have done just about everything we could to adhere to what your constituents have told you over the last 2 years at your town hall meetings. We need to protect the shoreline. And so I think that we are as ideally positioned as we have been in quite some time. With that, I'll entertain any questions.
Go ahead.
Ryan, on GOMESA money, now, is GOMESA money, is that coastal, strictly coastal?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
That is-
so coastal parishes only ones can receive this?
Yes, sir. Coastal parishes.
So, if we have an interior parish that's actually receiving GOMESA money, what can they do with that money?
They are still challenged to put that into coastal restoration and integrate it for projects. It's still, you have 21 coastal zone parishes in Louisiana that are qualifying for this funds. I think it's 21 parishes. But they have to, show eligibility of their potential projects.
So we have some inland parishes that have some GOMESA money, and you have to spend it on coastal, some type of coastal projects.
Yes.
So can those interior parishes dedicate those funds to the coastal parish for projects?
I think in some forward-thinking areas, you're going to have individuals realize that protecting a parish to the south of you protects you as well. And so at times, the return on investment of a project more closely proximity-wise to the Gulf provides protection to everyone north of it. And so there are those opportunities there. Those individual taxing entities would have to make the determination that they wouldn't have a particular project that was environmentally sound, that was eligible for construction of these funds. But I would like the jury to know that we have reached out to some of those parishes to at least express our interest in partnership, our full transparency in what projects we were looking to do. And so I think you'll see that other parishes really understand what we're trying to accomplish with this funding. I think they have decisions that they have to make on their own as well. Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to make sure everybody understands that we are reaching out to those
Yes, sir.
parishes, and that's the reason I asked those questions. Thanks to Mr. Butterfield. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you all.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to number 6. I have to card to number 6, but we're gonna let Mr. Doctor talk first. It's proposal ordinance change to prohibit vehicles on designated areas of Rutherford Beach.
Okay, there's an ordinance, that covers all the beaches, Rutherford Beach, Holly Beach, Long Beach, all the beaches, about not being on the, you can't drive on the dunes, and there's a fine for that and everything else. Everything is fine until you get to a place that says, there's only one place, Holly Beach has designated area, restricted area where you can't drive. All I wanna do is add Cameron into it. Because if we get to $4.5 million to do, the whole Rutherford Beach, and we gotta keep them, we ain't gonna have nothing there to do. We need that.
That's just to keep them from riding on the dune.
Just to, it's gonna be, sign's gonna say no unauthorized vehicles past this point. They can go fishing, they can go camping, they can let their kids run free without be getting run over by a 3-wheeler or 4-wheeler. It's just that one section, and it's only 1.25 miles. They still got 20 miles the other way to go.
Where's it located?
Have you been down the Pavilion? Have you been down the Jetty Road? I mean, Rutherford Beach Road?
Yeah.
All right, when you start right there, I got a pavilion built right here with 180 by 180 parking lot with limestone. That'll fit anything. And we fenced in 750 foot of dunes. But the southeast wind ate it all up till we get to the front. And some people think that when the road, when you lose your, after erosion, everything goes back to where, the road that was too, like this road right here that was with a simple map, Gulf Drive, that's 200 yards in the Gulf. If you look at it, because these people, property, half of their property, and I've talked to most of them, they say they pay taxes on all their property, and my property 200 foot in the Gulf. Well, Cameron Drive is on the other side. And it's from here, it's from right here, on that map, like the first check, it's like 600 and something feet of dune, the only one I got left. Right now they're driving on the dune. And they got big signs, 4x8, say don't no driving, and they're camping on the dune. I asked the woman the other day, I said, where was she from? She says, from Ohio. I said, y'all don't understand English in Ohio? So what do you mean? He says, look, you're camping on here, you get your bathing suit tied to the post for a clothesline. And they had 2-3 cars ahead of them on the dune. And there's only thing left on that, the east side, the one I'm closing, up to where we cut the ditch at, the drain, is our lease from the state. The beach commission has a lease from the state on that area. And that's the only one I want to close. Now, once we get the rocks in and everything starts building up, I'll offer it back up. That's no big deal. I just don't want it. They're right now, they're right up against it, the dune, and some are on the dune. And
So
this is what kind of stuff they leave on the beach.
So basically, well, I'm just trying to understand, basically from your pavilion, west,
East.
oh, east.
East, west is open. West is open. All the way to Cameron.
So it's the east side,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
just-
up to
I've
Hackett.
been down there several times, and I might be mistaken about how dunes look. I've seen the sand dunes up there, and right below them, where you could pass that on the beach, and I guess maybe it might have been low tide, where people could drive and wouldn't be on top of the
Yeah.
soft sand.
Yeah.
Could we still drive down there on that sand?
No vehicles pass that point.
With the-
Because we're gonna plant vegetation there, we're gonna do everything else to build it back up. Now, as dirty as this, they're gonna be putting rocks and they're gonna be these things called sand catchers. Now, see the one at the Holly Beach, they did it wrong. They just left 90 foot open. And when they pumped that sand, it left. And the sand behind the rock stayed. Well, they're gonna put sand catchers between the 90 foot. So the southeast southeast that eats us up will not be able to get through. And it's gonna break it and drop the sand. I think it's dirty enough to fill itself up. And once it starts building up, if it sees start building up, yeah, you go back down there, it's no big deal.
Question to you.
David, is this is the entire part that you want to close to vehicles part of the state lease? Or is there any
It's
additional,
our lease.
the lease
We
you have from the
yes,
state?
yes.
Okay, you don't need a parish ordinance. As the lessor, you can do whatever you want to regulate that portion of the beach.
But if I put a sign up that says, without a fine on it, they'll just drive right through it.
Well, they're doing that now when you got a sign with a fine on it, but I think, you can do it that way. If you don't want to pass a parish ordinance, you can, just as a private property owner, lessor, you can prohibit vehicular traffic on the property that you have leased. But if you want to go ahead and make a parish ordinance, then that way it would be enforceable with a fine.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
They don't understand.
Huh?
They tried to burn down the pavilion.
No, we don't have to have permission.
Somebody had a little torch up there trying to burn down a telephone pole.
Now, do you have, before we had talked about, I had done a bunch of ordinances about Holly Beach. We're not doing anything with Holly Beach now?
Not right now. They're still working on some stuff.
Okay, so we don't need to address golf cart, any motorized vehicle.
Any unauthorized. That means the sheriff can go down there, ambulance can go down there.
Any motorized
emergency
vehicle except, I think in the statute now, it says this doesn't apply to ambulance and police
Right.
and emergency.
Ambulance, emergencies, parish workers, if they gotta go pick up stuff like this,
Yeah,
which they did, and then it's in another pile just as big. And I
okay.
got a 9-yard, and a 6-yard dumpster when they drive in.
Okay.
Well, if we don't have to pass an ordinance, it's nothing to do with us anymore. It's just.
Yes.
I just
If
believe
you're
that.
gonna make it
If
such
our
a-
local people are mad, then they gotta go deal with the state, it's nothing to do with us. That's what I wanna make sure, because I don't want,
Yeah, the beach
Here,
board
here,
can't,
beach
beach
front.
board can't
The-
pass an ordinance. Only you can pass an ordinance. Beach board can't pass an ordinance.
No, but you're
but
saying.
you just said that we didn't need an ordinance to.
I said you don't need an ordinance if you're not gonna have a fine. If you wanna have a fine for not following, closing off where it is, then it has to be a parish ordinance.
And the fine's there already.
So we have to pass an ordinance if you wanna put a fine on.
All you have to do is add camera to the ordinance that's there already.
Right, there's already some areas listed in, Johnson, but this is new, okay? There's a Holly Beach area and a Johnson Bayou area which prohibits off-road vehicles. He wants to add the portion of Rutherford Beach which is described in the section of the ordinance where you set the speed limits. So it would just be a question of adding that part to the
Just
existing
add-
ordinance.
Not build, make a new ordinance.
Yeah.
And then on the sign, I can put a fine. There's a fine on the blue sign, they hang it closed from.
Anything else?
That's about it.
Point of information from the assembly, point of information,
I got the part right here, sit tight.
deals with this article.
I got, Mr. Johnny Pruitt, wants to talk about Rutherford Beach. Come on up, sir.
Well, I really wasn't expecting to speak this morning, but it seemed like this is very important. I'm gonna tell you what, I really appreciate what y'all are doing. With all this coastal restoration money and everything that you're doing, I tell you what, I'm encouraged every time I come to meet with you. I really am, because I see your heart's in the right place. And that you're really trying to take care of your home. Because this is where you live, this is your home. And I live on Rutherford Beach. And Rutherford Beach is important to me because that's my home. And you know that Rutherford Beach is the only beach between here and probably Vermilion Bay. So it's a very precious thing. This is the only beach, Rutherford Beach, between here and Vermilion Bay. So it's a very important place. It's something we need to take care of. We need to make sure that it's going to be there. Because you use it, I use it, everybody uses it, it's important. And how do we do that? Well, it's the shell beach. It can tolerate no vehicle traffic whatsoever. It's all loose. It's going to stay loose. Even if the grass tries to grow, if there's any type of traffic whatsoever, it kills all the roots of the grass. And it's important that we try to hold it together. And the only thing that holds it together is vegetation. It's kind of like we've got some good things coming. Got some wonderful things coming. Now about this traffic business, I just told you what I thought about that. It cannot tolerate anything. Except tennis shoes, that's about it. But we've got some good things coming. It's almost, and we've been working for this for a long time. Y'all have been putting forth an effort that is just tremendous to get us to this point that we're about to receive something really good. It's almost like a baby's coming. Now we have to try to figure out what kind of parent we're going to be to this baby. Are we going to be a good parent? We're going to try to keep it safe. We're going to try to keep it healthy. We're going to try to give it a way to prosper. Are we just going to or we're not? So let's try to figure out what kind of parent we're going to be to our home here and try to take care of it. Mr. Doxey has been working super hard. All of you have. Don't let it go to waste. We need to kind of make a stand. We need to show Calcasieu Parish and all the surrounding parishes that we care. And that we're going to treat it just like other states treat their beaches. I talked to some ladies the other day. I asked them about, would this hinder you from coming here if we was to put restrictions about driving? They were out walking. He said, no, it would even be a help. Because you wouldn't have to be worried about four-wheelers running over. It would keep the noise down. It would make it a very peaceful place if we didn't have to worry about this stuff. And they were from Jennings. They drove from Jennings to come to Rutherford Beach because there ain't no more beaches. We're running out of beaches. And people will come. I don't care what kind of restrictions you put on. People are coming. You know why? Because there's no other place to go. We have it. We can take care of it. We can manage it. We can do what's necessary in order to keep it safe. Me and my wife, we've committed ourselves to do what we can for this effort. We live there. We're gonna be there. We're gonna do this. And all we want but we need some teeth in these things we're talking about. The sheriff is more than willing to come down there and do his job. He's more than willing. But he, right now, feels like he does not have any authority to do anything until you tell him that he can do this. He wants to do this. He would like to do this. He's in agreement with you 100%. So just everybody else, these companies you're talking about, just sending all this money to bonds and all this stuff, everybody's doing their part. All right, what's your part? I mean, how are y'all going to deal with this? Are y'all going to take some responsibility too with this stuff? You love this place, and I love this place. That's all. Thank you. I appreciate your time. And listen, I want to say you're doing an excellent job, all of you. And I really appreciate it. It makes me feel good to know that somebody cares about my home when I got there.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we got Dr. Kevin Dukey. Got a couple points on the Army Corps of Engineers report. He got one on Gulf Drive and Rutherford Beach.
Gentlemen, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm here representing representing myself from Rutherford Beach, but also several of our property owners, residents, camp owners who can't make it today, obviously because they're working. And we consider ourselves the friends of Rutherford Beach. And I certainly concur with some of the prior statements. I think you folks are doing a great job trying to get everything organized here. But there's several misstatements here today that are highly inaccurate. First, we want to compliment this ACE report. This is fantastic. But we have two issues on this we'd like to submit to you. We know it's open for public comment right now in writing. We applaud this report so much. We really think you need a public hearing on this. We have the best spokesman in America to state positions of this parish. And I think a public meeting like the one you've had in town hall meetings just on this report is helpful. It's only been out to the public now, I think this week. It's 110 pages, we're trying to digest it. But I think a public meeting to answer a lot of the questions, especially on the funding operations, would be very helpful. So we'd ask you to consider that, number one. Number two, in regards to this amendment, this motion, or item number 6, comments made earlier informally last year to me, and I think several times here, our impression was the jury wanted to wait till it got the scientific document. It's only in draft form now, will be finalized, and use that as the yardstick for measurements on how to treat our beaches. Yeah, we have a draft, but I think public comments and then a finalization should be on deck before we begin to make other decisions. Henceforth, that's one of my arguments. I would ask you to just table this amendment for now. But more importantly, again, we're just starting to go through this, but we need to clarify several things. In this report, and this is a scientific report, now agreed, it's the Corps of Army Engineers, and for the record, these are people that couldn't become Navy Seabees. They end up in the Army, with all due respect. You mustn't be a Navy guy because you're not smiling, I don't know. But anyways, page 7 of the report lists the 3 causes of beach erosion. Vehicular traffic is not listed. Page number 7, 2 exacerbating factors for beach erosion. Vehicular traffic is not noted. We've been saying this, the Friends of Rutherford Beach have been saying this all the time. Vehicular traffic isn't the problem. The problem is waves, freezes, and or storms. Page 13, they talk about implementation, and we're finally happy to hear, if not for our beach, for all the beaches. Breakwaters and bringing in sand. Today, technology, that's probably the 2 best indications. Nowhere on page 13, when it talks about a plan to save the beach, does it talk about preventing vehicles on the beach. Nowhere does it talk about building sand dunes on the beach. Nowhere on the 4 designated beaches does it talk about vegetation planting. In fact, it goes on, page 58, where it talks about vegetation not effective for erosion protection. On page 34, when it lists all the benefits of the various 11 modalities we have, vegetation is listed last, ranks last, effectiveness, sustainability, durability. So we've got a lot of Johnny Appleseeds here, we've got a lot of grassaholics here. It's not going to save our beaches. Stone and pumping in sand will temporize things for us, and that's what we want. But the flavor of this report, and that's why I think a public meeting would be helpful. The flavor of this report on the 4 designated beaches tell us Corps of Army Engineers of all people want us to enjoy, the citizens to enjoy the beach. And to me, that's bringing your camper down to the beach and camping on the beach, not being restricted anywhere on the beach. We're all going to have problems with trash always, whatever rules you write. We already have a rule against littering. Those are minor headaches. Those are not the issues at hand. But what I'd like to summarize here, I would hope the jury would consider tabling this until we can get a finalized report and use the scientific report. We have experts now telling us what needs to be done. We don't have to listen to amateurs. And I admit I'm one of them too. But we have science. You wanted science, here's the science and engineering. Vehicles don't destroy the beach. And an amendment to this too, and not to take a lot of time from the board, but we have an issue with Gulf Drive, and I disseminated a handout earlier that Darrell passed out to you, and it's a map of Gulf Drive. Let me make it clear for the record, and Mr. Ryan, object if you need be. Gulf Drive exists. It's not in the ocean. Gulf Drive exists. The comments made here earlier are just ridiculous. You can look at your satellite maps, look at your whatever maps you want, Google it. Golf Drive exists. Problem is, we don't know where. And this has been a problem for the last year and a half, and I would state that a couple of the members of the Friends of Rutherford Beach have been torturing our administrator with emails on trying to get it identified. That road plays a significant, that has significant impact on the beach for several reasons. Number one, it's a parish road. If you're going to abandon it, but it's a parish road. If you look at the map in front of you, the printout, again, it's on the left-hand side, there's West Street. On the right-hand side, there's Rutherford Beach and Cameron Drive. Golf Drive is in yellow. You can see it delineated. That is the only access for 20 of the 22 lots that sit on the beach. 20 of those lots have no public access to get off the beach unless they go on Golf Drive. So any implementation, any future implementation of blocking the beach off to their ingress or egress is going to be an issue. One of the members, and I gave approval, mentioned name, Bobby Miller, has a camp within those 20 lots. He asked the lot owner to the north of him, can I have an easement for your property to get to Cameron Drive? Property owner said no. I think that raises some of the problems we would have if this road is abandoned by you folks. So, in terms of concerns for easements, property values, we'd like to be able to identify the road, and to fix that, I think it's going to take a survey. We don't see anywhere else we can find that road exactly. We have some of the markers and we're not quite certain. We know it costs money. And in summary, listen, I realize, I agree, you folks, we agree, the Friends of Rutherford Beach agree. We have a lot of fish to fry in this community. We have a lot of bigger problems in some of these issues, but with this great report we have out and this minor concern about Gulf Drive, any addressing of the issue would be appreciated. I'll be glad to answer any questions you have, but we would recommend that you postpone any type of amendment to restrict vehicular traffic on Rutherford Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
Great job.
Kevin,
Sir?
we got a paragraph for you.
You live on the beach itself?
No, sir. I'm actually building on Calcasieu Drive, but I have a lot 205 and 211 that is on Golf Drive, what's left of Golf Drive, but it's located west of West Street. Yes, sir. It's not on this schematic.
Well, you made a comment that vehicle traffic doesn't play any role in erosion. And I was just wondering if you lived on the beach.
Yes, sir, I do. I live on Calcasieu Drive, but on my lots 205, 211 virtually every day.
Right.
And I don't see any effect of erosion.
But if the beach was on your step, the water, and you was trying to protect it, you would probably have a different opinion about vehicular traffic on your front yard, wouldn't you?
George, you gotta look at
If
no.
somebody come
The answer to
on
that is no.
If somebody come on my property,
Uh-huh.
or something that was encroaching on me, and cut tailspins and dig the dunes up,
Yes.
and do whatever with a vehicle, I would have a problem with that.
We do, and we call them deputies on those. In fact, just last week, I had the pleasure of causing a deputy on one of those parties.
So
We are
to
policing
say-
the beach.
But to say that there's no problem with vehicle traffic destroying the dunes is not accurate, like you was explaining.
Well, again, I'll refer you to the Army Corps of Engineer report, and I'll refer you to the University of Texas report published 2 years ago that showed no, they couldn't confirm that there's any impact.
I understand that, but why do we have these big old organizations come in for these planting days and plant all the vegetation to try to protect the beach?
Yes, sir.
Do we have them all over?
It's a nice waste of time and money, and I'll refer you to 2 reports on that. In fact, look at Rutherford Beach when we had to keep people coming and plant, and then our jurist and our board fenced it in. Well, they didn't follow national guidelines. Let me answer your question, sir. I'll be glad to respond. They didn't follow national guidelines. What happens to that? The fencing got washed away. and the weeds got washed away. Now, if you look at the report on planting open beaches, on open beaches, they suggest planting wheatgrass of some sort, 18 by 18 inch matrix. If you look at studies on that, and the local study we have is the 2014-2015 Holly Beach Annual Inspection Report, the vast majority of that gets washed away. In order to plant vegetation, you have to have density, distance, and a mat. The mat, by most experts, should be a foot thick. That is, root system down a foot thick. It takes years to develop that type of system. If you look at the ACE report, they're replanting every year, sir. They're replanting every year because the stuff's getting washed away. So, why they come in, I guess they have their own agenda, but in terms of effectiveness, vegetation is not the most effectiveness. Sand dunes, what size sand dune do you think we need on Rutherford Beach to protect us from a Cat 4, Cat 5 storm surge? Let me tell you, 15 to 18 foot high. There's not enough sand on Rutherford Beach to build 15 to 18 foot high sand dunes. They have to be built in series or ergs, as they believe they call them. So, sir, I don't know why they come, but it's not effective. The most effective treatment we have is to get some breakwaters out there and replenish sand on a regular basis. Driving will not be an issue. Sand dunes are not an issue.
My whole point.
Yes, sir.
My whole point was, is that if you don't have the breakwaters and the big rocks and the other stuff, the next best thing is whatever you can round up. Right?
Not necessarily, no. You can plant weeds. We plant weeds. They get washed away.
So let's just do nothing.
Do effectiveness. And effectiveness is breakwater and replenishment.
I said if you don't have that,
Yes.
what is the next best effort? You saying vegetation is a waste of time.
Vegetation is last. It's a tertiary response.
So
Vegetation
I'm
will protect
asking
you from height.
what is the next best option?
You can't beat Mother Nature.
So do nothing.
Enjoy the beach. Enjoy
Okay, I
the
mean,
beach.
we can argue this point all day.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for your
I
time.
just want to make one point,
Okay, go ahead.
and you can stay right there. When I fenced in was a dune that y'all are using for a highway right now. That's it. I fenced the dune in, and you said
No, you
you
didn't.
properly fenced the place in.
No, you didn't. No. You didn't follow national guidelines when you planted it.
I
You
fenced the dune in, I got
No, you
pictures
didn't.
of it. And, it's people like this, the problem I got.
Sir,
That's
One
fine,
person.
that's fine, we'll.
let me compliment the fact that we have a buffoon
Okay.
as
No, we're not gonna have that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. You wanna move that to the vote meeting, David?
Yes, I sure do. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, we'll move it to the vote meeting. All right, let's move on to number 7. Ad valorem tax millage projection, Mr. Darrell Williams.
Mr. DuPont, on your, every year we have to adopt millages for the following year. There's a spreadsheet on your agenda, it may be sideways if y'all can't flip it, I can give you, basically I just put the assessed values from last year. One of the problems we have when we have to adopt millages, the assessments don't come out until September, October, but you gotta adopt your millages by June. And so you don't know what those actual values are gonna be when you're adopting your millage. So based on last year's and on the paper, the first column in the pink color is the values from last year. And the millage rates that we levied last year, compared them with the authorized millage. But this year I'm going to propose that we adopt the same millages, but I am going to reduce the health unit to 0. It's got plenty of money, but to keep the fire districts the same. Some of them are struggling, and and I can go through in the blue. The millage for, I can list the millage here, and it'll be on the afternoon on the voting meeting. Would y'all have any issues with keeping them the same, or and with that reduction in the health unit millage?
So you just want to leave the where it's at right now,
But reduce the health care millage.
Okay, all right, that's good.
Okay with that?
And and this afternoon, when we go through that resolution, I'll list the villages and y'all can approve it.
All right. Let's see, let's take that right here. All right, if I do that, we'll go to item number 8, traffic issues on Franklin Street, Cameron. I have one for Mr. Francis Gilbo.
And Ms. Christie Mock was the one who called and asked for this, so I put it on the meeting so that we can allow her to speak.
Okay, let's let Christie talk first. Christie.
Good morning. I've come to y'all before over the traffic issues that we're having on Franklin Street. Y'all have put the stop signs at every crossing, which we appreciate that, but that has not stopped it. Just a week ago, we had to call the sheriff department because a lady in a black SUV that comes from the workers come flying down the road and like to run my grandson over. If she wouldn't have hit the side of the road and almost took out my boat, my flatbed trailer, and my truck, she would have killed my grandson. This is every day we have problems with the speeders on that road. They do not stop. They stop at the stop sign, then they come flying through. This is every day. I mean, we're even afraid to let the kids outside to play now. I mean, kids are kids. But I mean, it's ridiculous that you have to sit there and basically sit in the middle of the yard and make sure the kids don't go near the road or the dogs go near the road because they do not pay attention. I don't know what we can do or how we're going to do this, but something needs to be done before we have a dead kid on our hands. You know, I mean, they got kids that play on the other street in the middle, where one of the middle streets are. They don't have problems with speeders there. I've seen the other road ahead of us. There's no speeders there. You on Franklin Street, we've got people coming in and out from back right here, and they're flying down the road. They're not taking into account that there's a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. They're not taking into account that there's stop signs. They're not taking into account that there's kids down this road. This is a neighborhood. It was a private neighborhood. We had dead end put when I moved into Cameron, there was a dead end right there 20-something years ago. The storm wiped the dead end out. The dead end was never put back. When the dead end was there, we never had problems with speeders. Never. Now all we do is have speeders. Now something needs to break somewhere because we're going to end up with a dead kid on our hands. And I mean, I'm asking y'all to please put the dead end back because I've tried it every other way. Nothing works, nothing helps. Even the sheriff has put cops. They see the cops, they slow down. They have the speed limit sign, the thing that, you know, when you pass, it shows you how fast you're going. They slow down. As long as there's a cop or that sign, they're gonna do the speed limit. Any other thing, they don't care. And I mean, it's time to put an end to it. Something needs to be done. Because now, you know, I mean, our children's lives are at stake right now with this. Because if she wouldn't have ran into the other yard, she would hit that baby and kill that baby. She didn't have enough time at 15 miles an hour to stop without hitting that baby.
The baby, she went in the yard to hit the baby?
No. I was across,
They were on the road?
I was across the road, and the baby seen me across the road, and whenever Savannah noticed that the baby was taking off towards me, she got to him at the truck. And I guess when she realized where the baby was, she took off into the side of the yard. And there's 5 other witnesses to that told the deputy exactly what happened.
So the little baby went on the road?
No, he was coming to meet me. He didn't make it to the road. She grabbed him before he made it to the road. But even at 15 miles an hour, they don't have enough time to slam their brakes on if a kid would accidentally get in the road.
You see, the chief's in the room. Mr. Sabor, you getting all these complaints, calls in, calls?
We have gotten complaints in the past, called in, and what she's talking about, we respond to those calls, that's correct. And we have worked traffic details with minimal success at all, if anything, in the locations.
Any thoughts of what can be done?
I have no recommendations. I mean, we work traffic throughout the area, we get complaints through all kinds of residential areas throughout the area.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir, I'm just asking, please put the dead end back to where we can have safety.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Francis Gilbo.
Good morning, gentlemen. I want to echo what Christie just got through saying. I don't think there's anybody in here that wants to see anybody get hit by a vehicle. None. Whether it's a child or whether it's an adult. I've lived in Henry Heights subdivision 50 years this month. Not to say that it was without issue. Some years ago, we had a milk truck run over a child. We had another incident where a child ran into a vehicle playing on the street. I don't care which street it is, what parish it's in, what state it's in, you're going to have children play on the road. You're going to have instances happen like Christy just got through saying. You're talking about a 4 or 5-year-old kid that sees somebody that they want to go meet across the street. And what are they going to do? They're going to go across the street. This has been a drama for 2 years. To go back to what Christy earlier said, that 20 years ago the road was blocked. Yes, it was, but they had a gate there. And the only reason they had a gate there was because there was only 2 things behind it, back here in the back. There was a ball field, which was being used to play baseball seasonally. And there was a recreation center that was back there that was used periodically for functions. The reason the gate was put up is because you had a function, you had alcohol involved, you had drunks, and you had people going up and down this road 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So they put a temporary blockage there. It was nothing permanent, it was temporary. Now, there's a lot of drama back there on that street, or on Henry Street, as a matter of fact. 2 years ago, we put stop signs up to have people stop. I've got 2 in my front yard. Okay, I can't even get in my driveway without stopping. So, I mean, stop signs is not the answer. I recommend removing the stop signs. What I do recommend that Ms. Christie do is invest some money into a fence, put around your property, and keep your kids inside the property. Kids are going to be kids. They're going to go on the road and they're going to play on the road. We raised over 100 children back there on these back streets. Some of our children raised their kids back here on these back streets. I don't know what the big issue is now, but since Rita, the infrastructure of Cameron has changed. What used to be at the courthouse now is in the back. So you've got construction being done here. You can't even get around the courthouse without having issues. You've got 2 streets to get back there in the back. You got Henry Street and Franklin.
And like I said the last time, I don't recommend closing the street, but I do recommend this. The streets I was told, stop right there where Mr. Frankie Mock used to live. And then it goes into a parking lot, which the parish owns. My recommendation is to strike the parking lot and build a road going all the way back around. And leave the road the way it is. Leave it open. This is a public road paid for by public dollars, tax dollars, and it is not a private playground for anybody, myself or anybody else. So I don't know what to tell y'all, but whatever you do, don't close that road up. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
This road, how long is this road? How long does that road get?
It's a little over 2 blocks.
2 blocks.
Yeah. Well, about 3 blocks. Roughly.
And the people that you're talking about is coming down this road to do what? They're just trying to get back over here?
Yeah, they're coming from, to the back to go to work or leaving or whatnot. They don't go down Mr. Gibbs' road, they go down our road, and they use our road for a speed demon. That's the only thing I'm saying, and putting a fence up in my yard still not gonna do the
I'm
justice.
not gonna argue about that, that's you, but just trying to figure out how this lady can get up to 40 miles an hour and,
To be honest with you, I don't know, sir. I really don't know, but I have witnesses, and I called the sheriff department, and the deputy did go talk to the witnesses that the
They said
lady
they
was
did.
speeding.
okay, thank you.
All right, we're gonna take it under advisement, talk about it, and get with Brian, and we're gonna get with Emily and everything and see exactly what we can do. And, we'll make a decision, might be right for some, wrong for others.
But,
We'll do the best for what's needed back there in the back, you know?
well, right now, you need that road.
Yeah, yes. Oh, I agree with
You need that road, and plus, Henry Street, contrary to what we just said, Henry Street is being used just as much as that other street.
Yeah, no, we need it right now. I mean, you know, no doubt about that. I mean, I've come here several times and come back the back way to get here, so. But anyway, we'll take it under advisement, look at it, and see what we're
Do
gonna do.
y'all have a timeline on the courthouse, when it's gonna be through? Just a guess? I mean, that's gonna alleviate probably 90% of everything we're talking about as soon as that gets opened back up.
I think Mr. McCain is out of order. I don't think he's signed up.
Could be
No,
right.
actually, that's a good question, you know.
There's
It
two.
actually is a good point, because
There-
maybe once the courthouse is done, I won't have to worry about a dead kid or anything else.
There are $2 million left in the project, and so the closure of the entrance was for the overlay. So that shouldn't, they weren't even supposed to excavate anything,
Right.
but they're gonna
I'm
overlay
just
it.
thinking if the courthouse is gonna be done
By the
in
end of
4
the
months,
year,
I don't think it's
yeah, by
gonna
the
be
end of
an issue.
by the end of the year, it will be finished.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on. We go to number 9, review agendas.
Would like to ask for an add-on for a executive session to discuss possible litigation involving field fire station.
Okay. Everybody good with that?
Oh, one of them, on that, vote lines.
Mr. Paul, on the boat launch, it's been another month. I contacted the court. They did call me or email me back this morning. The only thing they should tell me, they did their site visit that we talked about last month. They went to the site. She said there is a small piece of wetlands identified on the property. And her email was about that long, said there's a small piece of wetlands and maybe we could design the boat launch around it. But that was just the lady that went out in the field. She's the violator. This ain't the permit thing. So there's some other stuff we can do that probably we can still impact the wetlands because there's a general permit that they did.
So when she gonna get a start permit?
hopefully by next month I can show it to you. We're getting close. I think we're getting closer. At least we got them in the field. And she does her report. She gives it to the analyst. The analyst will be contacted if I need to work on something else. I had another issue come up with, was the archaeologist. They asked some information. I hope I answered it right. I got with the previous landowner. I don't think he told me there was some sand mining at one time. So I sent that back to him too this past month. That's where we at. It's getting closer though, I think.
Okay, Bob.
All right.
Thank you. And let's keep the pressure on.
Yes, sir.
Hey, item number 8 there, that public hearing on that right away, the 60-foot strip of land in that voluntary subdivision.
Yes, that's, we've been advertising we've got, for public comment.
You point who?
Mr. Mac Guthrie is the attorney working on this,
Good. Good morning, everyone. I don't want to really have I'm here if anybody has any questions.
Well, the question I have is, I mean, if your district up there, is this gonna affect any of our drain ditches or drain laterals or anything in that area?
No, this was, originally it was dedicated on a plat, and I'll be honest, it's arguable whether or not that satisfies the dedication requirement. The bank thinks it does. The attorney who reviewed the title for the bank thinks it does. So in abundance of caution, we're asking the police jury abandon it. There's no road, and what it was there were 60-foot by 110-foot strips that were originally going to be a road, and then weren't turned into a road, and were subsequently sold off. All the other strips are all adjoining the north or both southern properties above them, and it would be, I think you would have to run the road through Summer Place now. Like it would, I mean, it would be very difficult for the parish to even build the road if they wanted to, and they would now require knocking down some structures and some other things, and I don't, yeah.
And I reviewed the title also, and I agree with Mr. Guthrie that this property is not being used. The road was never constructed. So at one time there was going to be subdivision out there, but it was never constructed. I really don't think there's been a proper dedication, but to clear the title, the best way to do it would be for y'all to abandon that right away.
It's not. That's what we were thinking.
All right, thank you so much.
17, State Highway Maintenance Agreement. What is this?
That is our yearly agreement that we do every year. It goes in effect.
Which one?
Johnson Valley and Mayberry.
That's the grass?
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Everybody okay? All right, you can adjourn.
Oh, Mr. Dupont, can we come back? We have 2 add-ons to make sure. We have the, Mr. Doxey with the Rutherford Beach, the ordinance, and the executive session. Y'all are good with both of those?
Good.